doesn't matter what happens, there will be a period when you will have a drought. You know it's coming. So essentially, we should have been prepared for this a long time ago. Secondly is that 2015, we had this drought again. And at that time, we also got to a position where we had insufficient water to be able to generate electricity. We went into load shedding. At that time, we should have started to be able to work towards having to create the mitigating factors to create power generation outside hydro. This has been 9 years later, and we're still in exactly the same position as we were. In our infinite wisdom as a country, in 2015, when we had the drought and we couldn't generate sufficient power, we went and borrowed $2.4 billion to do another hydro station on the same river that had insufficient water to supply the first one. So this is very poor judgment on our side. So when you're talking about the current government right now, is that when this current government came into office, we were actually just gravitating between load shedding and not. We had actually experienced it before. Of course, when there's an election year, they kind of wash these things away, that they don't show us what the real challenge is. So essentially is that even at that time when they came into office in 2021, we knew that we have got an issue around power generation. There were very good pronouncements at the time that this issue around load shedding is a thing of the past, it will not happen. But we are back here, and it is even worse than it has ever been. I think as a nation, this is the worst that we've ever seen it to be. The problem about mitigation factors that are speaking to either having to do with the drought, which is food security, or having to do with load shedding, is that the solutions to these are long-term. You can't solve them in the short term. Essentially now where we are is that for us to be able to deal with this challenge, outside us having to import the power, is that we have to generate additional resources of power generation, which is solar energy. And those ones take a couple of months before you can do. Even the quickest one is between 6 and 8 months to do a solar plant. If we decide to do a very small one in every geographic locations, then to feed into the power grid. But the second one is that obviously one of the challenges that we do have is that the implementation of such projects should be done by the private sector. We've got a very bad attitude of having to be able to drive everything in terms of having to drive economic recovery for the country through government. The people that should be driving this is the private sector. And with the private sector is a question of creating an opportunity for them to generate revenue. They will take up that space. The challenge that we've had now is that we are protecting Zesco. Anybody who wants to generate power has to sell that power to Zesco at a price that is not competitive. And this is where the problem is. Zesco does not want to let go of the distribution, production, and supply. So we needed to be able to resolve this, and this would then solve our power generation issue in a very, very short period of time, because it will create a business opportunity for the private sector to invest in